Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I wish to continue the theme of love. I want to give you an idea of something so simple, yet so powerful. And within the explanation, to show you how some of the older paradigms of the planet might have to be broken in order for the simplicity to come through. What if I've told you that you have overcomplicated God? This comes, dear ones, from the humanism idea that grand things must be complicated. The old paradigm of human perception is filled with old consciousness and old ideas and old ways. Good for their time, working for their time, but it doesn't mean that you have to pull them in to something that is brand new. We've spoken of the energy which is new. It's not the energy necessarily, dear ones, it's the paradigm of reality, of what is today as opposed to what was yesterday. And here's how it goes. I've heard people say, Kryon, we listen to you. We like what you have to say, and we're starting to apply some of it. However, we need to know something. What is your belief system? What are you teaching? And what I would say back to that is there is no system. And the human would say there must be. For when you look around the planet, all of those who believe in the creative source have some kind of structure. And in that structure, there are rules. And in the rules, therefore, are the right and wrong ways to do things that would then enhance the worship or the knowledge of the Creator. Kryon, in that, where do you fit? What do we tell our friends when we say we want them to hear Kryon and they say, well, what are the rules? What's the system? I want to ask you something. What if, just for a moment, follow this idea that you could pretend for just a moment that your soul could stand before the Creator of all things, all by itself, and suddenly the eyes of God were on you, and you could ask the question to the creative source, what is your system? There would be a smile and an overwhelming feeling of caring and compassion when the creative source said, there is no system, there is only love. And if you came back to the planet, you would say, you know, there is only love from the creative source. And the humans would say, well, yes, that's correct, but you are not God. You have to have a system in order to make sense of that which you don't understand, which is God. And this is the difference, dear ones, between an old and a new energy. What if I told you there is no system? Love is not a system. Love is a reality. It is an existence. It is what it is. Love contains all of the attributes of everything you'd ever have to know or be or do in order to have the right kind of living and the right kind of life before God. Because you become that essence which has no system, which is one with everything. There's so much that we could tell you here that is starting to shift and change. You know this. We've said this before, that when a human falls in love with another human, in those first days, when it even affects your system and you feel just a little crazy, and it's beautiful, that should tell you right then, if one of you asks the other one, well, let's stop for a moment and analyze the system. You don't, because there is no reason, because love is pure and complete. And if it's true love, it lasts a very long time because of those attributes. If you walk into nature, dear ones, in the middle of the trees and the forests, and you said to the trees, what is the system of nature? The trees would smile at you and say, there is no system. And you would say, well, certainly there is. Look at all of the things that go into making you exist, and you've got to relate to it all. And the trees would say, you see, we relate to it because it's a relationship. A tree will have a relationship with the dirt, with the insects and the birds and the sun, and with carbon dioxide and with oxygen. The relationship is what each tree has, and it's different from tree to tree. But overall, the relationship is about oneness with all things. The tree doesn't have a set of rules that tells it how to live, or where it can put its roots, or what is pleasing or not pleasing to a God that created the tree. And that is one of the reasons why you can walk into nature and feel so free, realizing that there is no system of do's and don'ts, because it is self-evident and common sense that the relationship takes care of all of it. There'll come a day when people will not ask you what box you're in anymore. And you say, the relationship is good enough. And so I answer, what is the system? No system. It's called love. Because love and that relationship you would have with the Creator itself contains absolutely everything you'd ever need to know. When you have love and compassion, the rules, if you want to call them the rules, are self-evident and common sense on how you treat the one next to you, the ones that you meet that you don't know. The attitude of life that you would have walking into strange places. It changes the way you think about luck, if you even want to use the word. It starts to make you understand that the relationship to the Creator is a design that you create as well. And where you walk, you create love. This is simpler, dear ones, than a set of rules that you have to adhere to. Do you really think that the Creator of the universe cares what you wear? And there are those who do. Because in an old energy, they have created human rules with human ideas and human perceptions, thinking that these are what God would have. And in a new energy on this planet that is starting to appear, all by itself because of what you've done, and this shift starts to become self-evident, more and more will turn away from a system, a belief, and instead intertwine themselves in the beautiful relationship of love. We have said so many times The word love to you has so many meanings, and it only goes so far. But I will say to you that it is endless, and it's enormous. It's more beautiful than anything you can even begin to imagine. The light of 1,000 suns is a drop in the bucket to the light of the love of the Creator. And in that, I tell you also that your soul carries all of it. When the prophet Elijah walked into the field, he was going to ascend, and he knew that. And the ascension of Elijah is a metaphor for who humans are. Ascension meant that he was going to leave his corporal body, that body that he has, corporeal in nature, and it would vanish, and he would then become the soul that walks the earth, just like you. And he knew what was going to happen, and so he had his understudy, Elisha, write it down. Don't miss a thing, he said. Tell everything you see. And Elisha saw so many metaphors and so many things written so carefully in Scripture. But the biggest thing he saw was this, that Elijah turned into the light of 1,000 suns. Too bright to look at, unbelievable to any human being that there could be a light that bright. That was Elisha's soul. And dear ones, it's just like yours. It is pure, without rules, without systems. Because love is self-evident in its compassion, and it tells the story through its intuition of how you would live and receive and give to every other human or living thing on the planet. It's so beautiful and elegant in its instructions, so intuitive, that the proof is this, is that when you meet someone else who has that love, you meet them eye to eye and you see them as family, because you both understand exactly what I'm talking about. This is not the new age, dear ones. But that was the name given to something before that had rules. It bothers many that the believers here in this room would not have a prophet or a place to go to with a name or a set of rules or a denomination. And they would be seen as floaters without a home and without a center. And dear ones, that is the perception of an old energy that needed to be grounded in rules, in beliefs, that put a veil before God. Blessed is the human being who understands this and strips away all of that, if even for a moment to test it and say, is love enough? And the answer will always be more than enough. This is the message we will continue to give on this planet that continues to change with new paradigms that become self-evident. And so it is.